I never thought I'd be the kind of mother who would sell her own home just to get away from her daughter. But when my son-in-law looked me straight in the eye on Christmas Day and said, "Either you give us $200,000 or you move to the guest room so we can rent out your master bedroom on Airbnb," I knew something had to change. And it wasn't going to be me moving to the guest room. My name is Margaret, though everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 67 years old, and I taught second grade for 38 years before I retired. My husband Daniel passed away 5 years ago from a heart attack, sudden and unexpected, the way these things often are. He left me our home in Tucson, a beautiful 4-bedroom house with a garden he'd spent years perfecting. We'd raised our daughter Stephanie there. We'd celebrated birthdays and Christmases and ordinary Tuesday evenings in that house. It held every memory of our life together. After Daniel died, I thought about downsizing. The house felt too big for just me, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Not yet. I kept his tools in the garage, his favorite chair in the living room, his side of the closet with a few shirts I couldn't bear to donate. Nancy, my best friend since college, told me I'd know when I was ready. "Don't let anyone rush you," she said. "This is your grief, your timeline." So I stayed. I kept teaching my art classes at the senior center, volunteering at the library, tending Daniel's roses. I was lonely sometimes, but I was managing. I had my routines, my friends, my independence. I thought I had everything figured out. Then Thanksgiving arrived, and everything changed. Stephanie called me 2 weeks before the holiday. "Mom, we're thinking of coming to spend Thanksgiving with you this year," she said. "The kids would love to see Grandma, and honestly, we could use a little family time." I was thrilled. My daughter lived in Phoenix, about 2 hours away, with her husband Tom and their 2 children, 8-year-old Emma and 5-year-old Lucas. We saw each other maybe once every couple of months, quick Sunday visits that never felt long enough. The idea of having them for a whole Thanksgiving weekend made me genuinely happy. "That would be wonderful," I said. "I'll make up the spare bedrooms for the kids, and you and Tom can have the—" "Actually, Mom, we were hoping we could stay a little longer. Maybe through December?" I paused, caught off guard. "Through December? That's more than a month. I know it's a lot to ask." Stephanie's voice took on that tone I'd learned to recognize over the years, the one that meant she needed something. "But here's the thing. Tom's between projects right now with the startup, and we're trying to save for a down payment on a bigger house. If we could stay with you for just a few weeks, we could put the money we'd spend on our mortgage and utilities toward the new place. It would really help us out." Something about the request made me uneasy. But this was my daughter, my only child, and her children, my grandchildren. Daniel would have wanted me to help if I could. "Of course," I said. "You're always welcome here." "Thank you, Mom. You're the best. Oh, and we'll probably bring quite a bit of stuff. You know how it is with kids." They arrived on Thanksgiving morning with 6 suitcases, 4 boxes, and a storage container strapped to the top of their SUV. Tom barely said hello before he started hauling things into my house. Stephanie gave me a quick hug and immediately began directing traffic. "Emma's stuff goes in the blue bedroom. Lucas needs the yellow one. Tom, can you set up the pack and play in case Lucas has a bad night? Mom, where should we put our things?" "The master guest room," I said. "It has the king-size bed and the ensuite bathroom." "Perfect." Stephanie was already halfway up the stairs. The first week was actually pleasant. We cooked Thanksgiving dinner together, watched movies with the kids, did puzzles at the dining room table. Lucas loved the garden, spent hours following me around as I showed him how to deadhead the roses and pull weeds. Emma practiced piano on the upright in my living room, the same piano Stephanie had learned on as a child. But I started noticing things. Tom didn't leave the house much. He spent most of his time on the couch with his laptop, taking calls that seemed to go nowhere. "It's venture capital meetings," he'd say when I asked. "Building relationships, you know how it is." Stephanie worked from home, her marketing job apparently flexible enough to do from anywhere. But she commandeered my dining room table as her office, spreading papers and 2 monitors across the surface, where Daniel and I used to eat dinner together every night. The kids ran through the house constantly. I didn't mind. I love children. That's why I taught for so many years. But they were loud, and my house had never been particularly soundproofed. By the end of that first week, I had a constant headache. Just a few more weeks, I told myself. They're family. The second week, things started to shift. I came home from my Tuesday art class at the senior center to find Tom waiting for me in the kitchen. He had that look on his face, the one that meant he was about to ask for something. "Maggie, can we talk for a minute?" I set down my bag. "Of course." "I have an incredible opportunity," he said, his eyes lighting up the way they always did when he talked about business. "A buddy of mine is launching this AI startup, and they're looking for early investors. It's ground floor stuff, Maggie. The kind of thing that could turn 50,000 into $500,000 in 2 years. My stomach dropped. $50,000? I know it sounds like a lot, but think of it as an investment in your grandkids' future. When this thing takes off, we'll be able to buy that house we want, put the kids in better schools, really set them up for success. Tom, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I don't invest in startups. I keep my money in index funds and savings bonds. It's what Daniel and I always did." His face darkened just slightly. "Right, the safe route. That's fine, I guess. I just thought you'd want to be part of your family's success story, but I understand if you're more comfortable sitting on the sidelines." The comment stung, but I held my ground. "I'm sorry, Tom. My answer is no." He left the kitchen without another word. That night at dinner, I noticed him and Stephanie exchanging looks, the kind of silent conversation married couples have perfected. I had a bad feeling, but I pushed it away. The third week, everything escalated. I woke up one Monday morning to find Stephanie in my bedroom doorway. I'd just gotten out of the shower and was still in my bathrobe. "Mom, we need to talk about the sleeping arrangements." "What about them?" She walked into my room, looked around at the king-size bed, the master bathroom, the walk-in closet. "This is a lot of space for just one person. Stephanie, this is my bedroom." "I know, but hear me out. Emma and Lucas are sharing that tiny yellow room, and they're fighting constantly. Emma really needs her own space at her age. And honestly, the guest room where Tom and I are staying is fine, but it's smaller than our room back home. We're cramped." I stared at my daughter. "What exactly are you suggesting?" "The guest room at the end of the hall, the one you use for storage. It's a nice size. If you moved in there, Emma could have your current room, Lucas could have the blue room, and Tom and I could spread out a little in the guest suite." "It makes so much more sense, Mom. You don't need all this space." "This is my house, Stephanie. And we're your family." Her voice had that edge to it, the one that meant I was being unreasonable. "We're only asking you to be flexible for a few more weeks. Is that really too much?" I felt something shift inside me, something I hadn't felt since the early days of my teaching career when parents would try to bully me into changing grades or policies. It was the feeling of recognizing manipulation when I saw it. "Yes," I said. "It is too much. This is my bedroom, in my house. I'm not moving." Stephanie's face flushed. "Fine. I just think it's pretty selfish, but fine." She left, and I sat down on my bed, my hands shaking. Nancy called me that afternoon, and I told her everything. "Maggie, you need to set a timeline," she said. "They said a few weeks. It's been 3. When are they actually leaving?" "I don't know. I haven't asked." "Then ask. You have every right to know when your house will be yours again." That evening, I brought it up at dinner. "Stephanie, Tom, I was wondering when you were planning to head back to Phoenix. It's almost December, and you said you'd be here through the month." Tom and Stephanie looked at each other again. That look. "Actually, Mom, we need to talk to you about that," Stephanie said. "Our tenant in Phoenix, the one who's been renting our condo while we save up, gave notice. They're moving out at the end of January." "Wait, you're renting out your home? How else did you think we were going to save for the down payment?" Tom said. "We needed to cut our costs completely. The rent we're collecting is going straight into savings." I felt my blood pressure rising. "So you don't have anywhere to go back to?" "Not immediately," Stephanie said. "But don't worry, we'll figure something out by February, March at the latest." "March? Stephanie, it's November. You told me a few weeks." "Plans change, Mom. We thought you'd be happy to spend more time with your grandchildren." I excused myself from the table and went to my room, my sanctuary that no longer felt entirely mine. I called Nancy. "They lied to you," Nancy said flatly. "They never planned to stay just a few weeks." "What do I do?" "You're going to have to tell them they need to leave. Give them a deadline. They're my daughter, Nancy. And her kids. And this is your home. And your life. Maggie, you taught hundreds of children over the years. You know what happens when you don't set boundaries. She was right, of course. But knowing what to do and actually doing it are two different things. The fourth week arrived, and with it came Christmas preparations. Stephanie decided we should have a big family dinner on Christmas Day, invite my late husband's brother and his wife, maybe some friends. I told her I usually kept Christmas quiet, just me and Nancy. That's so sad, Mom, Stephanie said. Don't you want the kids to have memories of big family Christmases at Grandma's house? Before I could answer, she'd already invited 8 people. I spent 3 days cooking and cleaning. Tom and Stephanie didn't help much. They were busy, they said, looking at houses online, making plans for their future. I noticed Tom's phone was always tilted away from me during those calls. Something wasn't right. Christmas morning was chaotic. The kids opened their presents, paper flying everywhere. Tom's brother showed up early, commenting on what a great setup they had here. Living rent-free at Mom's place, that's the dream, he said, laughing. I caught Stephanie's eye. She looked away quickly. The afternoon wore on. I was exhausted from cooking, from hosting, from playing the perfect grandmother and mother, while feeling increasingly like a stranger in my own home. Finally, people started leaving. The last guest walked out around 8 o'clock. I was in the kitchen cleaning up when Tom and Stephanie came in. They'd put the kids to bed. Tom poured himself a 3rd glass of wine. Maggie, we need to have a family meeting, he said. Something in his tone made me put down the dish I was washing and turn around. Stephanie spoke first. Mom, we've been doing a lot of thinking. We really want to make this work, staying here for a while longer, but we need to be smart about it financially. What does that mean? Tom leaned against the counter. Here's the thing. You've got this big house, 4 bedrooms, and you're living alone. That's a lot of wasted space, a lot of wasted potential income. Income? There's this thing called Airbnb, Tom continued, warming to his subject. People rent out their rooms to travelers. You're in Tucson, near the national park. You could easily get $150 a night for the master bedroom. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You want me to rent out my bedroom? Not just rent it out, Stephanie said. We've worked out all the numbers. If you moved into the storage guest room, we could rent out the master bedroom on weekends and during peak season. Tom would manage everything, handle the bookings, the cleaning fees, all of it. You wouldn't have to do anything. And the income would help offset the costs of us staying here. It's a win-win. A win-win, I repeated slowly. I move into the smallest room in my house so strangers can sleep in my bedroom, and you call that a win-win? Mom, don't be dramatic. Stephanie's voice had that edge again. It's just practical. You're 67 years old. You don't need a huge bedroom anymore. And honestly, we need the money more than you need the space. Tom set down his wine glass. Look, Maggie, we're trying to be respectful here. We're asking nicely. But let's be real. You're sitting on a gold mine with this house, and you're not doing anything with it. Your daughter, your grandchildren, we're trying to build a future, and you have the means to help us. We're asking you to move to the guest room so we can make some money from this space. Or, he paused, and I saw something cold flash across his face. Or, you could just give us the $200,000 for the down payment on our house, and we'll be out of your hair completely. The room went silent except for the drip of the kitchen faucet. $200,000, I said. It's what we need for 20% down on the house we want, Stephanie said. Mom, you could make this so easy. Dad left you this house free and clear. You've got savings, retirement, Social Security. You don't need all that money. We're young, we have 2 kids. We're trying to build something. You could help us. I looked at my daughter, this woman I'd raised, whose diapers I'd changed and whose nightmares I'd comforted and whose college I'd helped pay for. And I saw someone I didn't recognize anymore. No, I said. No? Tom's face was darkening. Just no? You're not even going to think about it? I've thought about it. My answer is no. I'm not giving you $200,000, and I'm not moving out of my bedroom so you can turn my home into a hotel. You're being selfish, Stephanie said, her voice rising. You're choosing money over your own family. I'm choosing myself, I said quietly. And right now, I'm asking you both to leave this kitchen so I can finish cleaning up." Tom slammed his hand on the counter, making me jump. "You know what, Maggie? You're going to regret this. We've been nothing but grateful, nothing but helpful, and this is how you repay us? By choosing your precious house and your precious space over your daughter's future?" "Tom, that's enough," I said, my voice shaking. "No, it's not enough. Either you give us the money, or you move to the guest room and let us make it work, or we're going to have a serious problem here. This is your choice to make, but choose carefully." He left the kitchen. Stephanie lingered for a moment, looking like she wanted to say something else, but then she followed him out. I heard them going upstairs, heard their door close, heard the sound of raised voices filtering through the ceiling. I stood in my kitchen, in the house my husband and I had built our life in, and I cried. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just silent tears running down my face as I dried the dishes and put them away and wiped down the counters like I'd done 1,000 times before. Then I pulled out my phone and called Nancy. "It's time," I told her. "I need help." The next morning, December 26th, I woke up early. Stephanie, Tom, and the kids were still asleep. I got dressed, made coffee, and drove to Nancy's house. "I want to sell," I told her. "The house. I want to sell it." Nancy didn't try to talk me out of it. She'd been my friend for almost 50 years. She knew when I'd made a decision. "I know a realtor," she said. "Linda Martinez. She's sharp, no nonsense. She'll treat you right. Want me to call her?" "Please." Linda came to meet me at a coffee shop that afternoon. She was 55, competent, straightforward. I liked her immediately. "The Tucson market is hot right now," she said. "Houses in your neighborhood are selling in under 2 weeks. If your place is in good shape, we could list it immediately after New Year's and have offers within days." "How long would closing take?" "With the right buyer, 30 days. Maybe less if they're paying cash, which a lot of investors are." I thought about Daniel's roses, about the bedroom where we'd slept for 30 years, about the kitchen where we'd cooked countless meals together. Then I thought about Tom's cold eyes when he demanded $200,000. I thought about Stephanie telling me I didn't need my own bedroom. "Let's do it," I said. Linda came to see the house 2 days later while Stephanie and Tom were out looking at properties they couldn't afford. She walked through each room, took notes, nodded approvingly at the updates Daniel and I had done years ago. "I can list this at $475,000, she said. "You'll get multiple offers. I guarantee it." "How do we keep this quiet until after it's sold?" Linda smiled. "Professional photos when the house is empty. We say you're staging it. We keep the listing private for the first week, marketed only to my network of serious buyers. By the time it hits the public market, if it even needs to, you'll probably already have an accepted offer. And they won't know? Not until you tell them." I signed the paperwork on December 30th. The listing would go live January 3rd. Strategically timed for when people were returning from holiday travel and starting to think seriously about New Year resolutions and fresh starts. That week between Christmas and New Year's was surreal. I moved through my house like a ghost, mentally cataloging what I'd keep and what I'd let go. Stephanie and Tom seemed to think my silence meant I was reconsidering their demands. They were almost cheerful, probably planning how they'd spend the money they thought I'd eventually give them. On New Year's Eve, while they were out at a party, I went into the master bedroom, my bedroom, and I took photographs. Every angle, every corner. The view from the window. The way the morning light came through. I wanted to remember it exactly as it was. Then I started, quietly, packing the things that mattered. Photo albums. Daniel's watch. My grandmother's quilts. My favorite books. I put them in boxes and stored them in my car's trunk. January 3rd came. Linda called me at noon. "We have 3 showings scheduled for tomorrow. The market is responding exactly like I thought it would." "Good," I said. January 4th, I told Stephanie I had doctor's appointments in Phoenix and would be gone most of the day. Instead, I stayed in Nancy's guest room and waited. Linda called at 4 o'clock. "We have 2 offers, both above asking. One is cash, close in 3 weeks." "I'll take the cash offer," I said. We accepted that evening. Closing was scheduled for January 24th. I told no one. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of my life. I continued my routine, taught my art class, had coffee with Nancy, played with Emma, and Lucas, but every day I packed a little more. I arranged for a moving company to come on January 25th. I found a realtor in Sedona, a town I'd always loved, about 2 hours north. She showed me a condo with mountain views, 2 bedrooms, part of an active senior community. It was perfect. I put in an offer. It was accepted. January 24th, I signed the closing papers at a title company in Phoenix while Stephanie thought I was at a dental appointment. The house was sold. The money was in my account. I officially had 10 days before the new owners took possession. That night I cooked dinner for everyone. Spaghetti, the kids' favorite. We ate in the dining room, and I watched my grandchildren laugh and talk about their day at school. I watched my daughter scroll through her phone, looking at houses she wanted me to buy for her. I watched Tom drink his wine and talk about his next big business idea. After dinner, after the kids were in bed, I asked Stephanie and Tom to sit down in the living room with me. "I need to tell you something," I said. Tom turned off the TV. They both looked at me expectantly, probably thinking I was finally going to say yes to their demands. "I've sold the house," I said. The silence was absolute. "What?" Stephanie's voice was barely a whisper. "I sold the house. The closing was this morning. The new owners take possession on February 3rd. That gives you 10 days to find somewhere else to live." Tom stood up, his face red. "You can't do that. This is your daughter. These are your grandchildren. You can't just—" "I can," I said calmly. "It's my house. It was my decision. And I've made it." "Where are you going?" Stephanie asked. "Sedona. I bought a condo there. I'm moving on the 25th. Mom, you can't do this to us." Stephanie was on her feet now, too. "We have nowhere to go. Our tenant doesn't move out until the end of the month. We can't afford rent on our condo and a new place at the same time." "That's not my problem anymore," I said, and even as I said it, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. "You told me I was being selfish for wanting to keep my own bedroom in my own house. You demanded $200,000. You wanted to turn my home into an Airbnb. You lied to me about how long you were staying. You took advantage of my grief and my loneliness and my love for you, and you exploited it." "We're your family," Tom said. "You're right," I said. "You are, and that's why I'm not leaving you with nothing. I've set up trust funds for Emma and Lucas, $50,000 each, for college. They can't touch it until they're 18, and neither can you. That's my gift to my grandchildren. But you, Stephanie, and you, Tom, you get nothing from me. Not money, not my house, not my space." Stephanie was crying now, but they weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of rage. "You're a terrible mother." "Maybe," I said. "But I'm done being a doormat." I went to my room that night and locked the door. I heard them arguing, heard Stephanie crying, heard Tom making phone calls. I didn't care. The next morning, I left early and spent the day with Nancy. When I came home that evening, they were gone. All their things, the 6 suitcases and 4 boxes, the storage container, everything, just gone. They'd left my key on the kitchen counter. I spent the next week saying goodbye to my house. I hired movers, packed up 35 years of marriage and 5 years of widowhood. Linda stopped by to check on me. "You did the right thing," she said. "I know," I said, and I meant it. Nancy helped me pack the last boxes. "Are you scared?" she asked. "Terrified," I admitted, but also excited. "Is that strange?" "No," she said. "It's human." I moved to Sedona on January 25th. My new condo was smaller than my house, but it was mine, completely mine. I had a balcony that looked out over red rocks. I had 2 bedrooms, one for me and one for art studio space. I joined the community's yoga class, signed up to teach watercolor painting to other retirees. I started going on morning hikes, something I'd never had time for before. Stephanie sent me one text 3 weeks after I moved. "I hope you're happy. We had to beg Tom's parents for a loan to cover first and last month's rent on a 2-bedroom apartment. Emma and Lucas have to share a room again. We'll never forgive you for this." I typed back, "I'm sorry you're struggling, but I'm not sorry for my decision. When you're ready to have a relationship based on respect, not money, I'll be here." She didn't respond. That was 2 months ago. Last week, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Emma, my granddaughter. It was on notebook paper, written in careful 8-year-old handwriting. Dear Grandma Maggie, I miss you. Our new apartment is small, but Mom says we're learning to be grateful for what we have. She says you taught her that lesson, and she forgot it for a while. Can I come visit you sometime? I want to see the red rocks. Love, Emma. I cried reading that letter, but they were good tears. I called Stephanie's number. She answered on the third ring. Hi, Mom, she said quietly. Hi, sweetheart, I said. We talked for an hour. She apologized, really apologized, not the kind of apology that's followed by excuses. She told me Tom was in therapy, dealing with his issues about money and success. She told me they were working on their marriage, on their relationship with money, on teaching their kids the difference between needs and wants. Can I ask you something? She said at the end of the call. Anything. Do you like your new place? I looked out at my balcony, at the red rocks glowing in the late afternoon sun. I love it, I said. I wish I'd done it years ago. Can Emma come visit? Maybe for a weekend? I'd love that, I said. She's coming next month. We're going to paint watercolors together, hike the easy trails, make cookies in my tiny kitchen. I'm not sure what the future holds for my relationship with Stephanie and Tom, but I know this. I chose myself, and that choice saved me. I spent 38 years teaching children that they matter, that their boundaries matter, that they deserve to be treated with respect. It took my daughter demanding my bedroom for me to remember that those lessons applied to me too. I'm 67 years old. I'm living in a condo in Sedona, Arizona. I have my art classes and my yoga and my new friends in the senior community. I have my memories of Daniel, safely tucked away in photo albums and in my heart. I have a relationship with my daughter that's being slowly rebuilt on honesty instead of obligation. And I have my own bedroom, with a view of the mountains, where no one tells me I don't deserve the space I take up. I learned something important that Christmas Day when my son-in-law demanded $200,000 and my daughter told me to move to the guest room. I learned that loving someone doesn't mean letting them take advantage of you. I learned that being a good mother doesn't mean sacrificing everything, including your dignity and your peace. I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no, and I learned that it's never, ever too late to choose yourself.